When you hear the words scientific experiment, what do you picture? White lab coats, test tubes, microscopes, the quiet ticking of machines. But history shows us that science has never been just about cold instruments. Human curiosity can illuminate civilizations, but it can also descend into darkness. In the pursuit of knowledge, humanity has carried out experiments so bizarre and horrifying that they sound like works of fiction. Some were absurd, some were cruel, but all of them revealed something unsettling about human nature. Today, let's take a chilling journey through some of the most outrageous experiments ever conducted in human history. Fair warning, some of these stories may make your jaw drop. Experiment 1. The Stanford Prison Experiment. In 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo at Stanford University designed one of the most infamous experiments in psychology. He recruited ordinary college students and randomly assigned them to play the roles of guards and prisoners inside a mock prison. The study was supposed to last 2 weeks. It collapsed in just 6 days. Why? Because within days, those students who were assigned as guards began abusing their power, humiliating and tormenting the prisoners. The prisoners, meanwhile, began to suffer severe psychological trauma, with some breaking down emotionally. Imagine this. One day, you're joking with your roommate. The next, he's wearing sunglasses and barking orders like a tyrant. This wasn't a movie. It was real. The Stanford Prison Experiment revealed a disturbing truth. Under the influence of power and environment, human nature can warp alarmingly fast. What began as a psychology study ended as a psychological horror story. Experiment 2. The Milgram Obedience Study. If the Stanford experiment exposed the corruption of power, Stanley Milgram's experiment at Yale University revealed the danger of blind obedience. In the 1960s, Milgram invited volunteers to participate in what they thought was a study of learning. The volunteers were told to administer electric shocks to a student whenever he answered incorrectly, with the voltage increasing each time up to 450 volts. Here's the twist. The student was an actor, and no shocks were real, but the volunteers didn't know that. They heard screams, they saw distress, and yet, when the man in the lab coat calmly said, "Please continue," most of them obeyed. The results were shocking. Over 60% of participants pressed the switch all the way to the maximum voltage, despite believing they were causing real harm. Milgram's conclusion was chilling. Ordinary people, under authority, are capable of terrifying actions. Blind obedience, it turns out, can be lethal. Experiment 3. MK-Ultra Mind Control. During the Cold War, the CIA launched a secret program called MK-Ultra. Its goal? To study mind control. Sounds like the plot of a sci-fi movie, right? But this was real. Agents secretly gave LSD and other hallucinogens to volunteers, patients, and sometimes completely unsuspecting civilians to see if they could manipulate thoughts, erase memories, or break down personalities. Some subjects suffered permanent psychological damage. Others had terrifying hallucinations. In some cases, prisoners and hospital patients were used without consent. Imagine going to the doctor and being unknowingly drugged just to see if you could be reprogrammed. That was MK-Ultra. Eventually, the program was exposed, creating one of the greatest scandals in US intelligence history. It showed that when science and unchecked power collide, reality can become darker than fiction. Many call it the real-life prequel to The Matrix. Except in this version, you didn't get to choose the pill. Experiment 4. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study. One of the most shameful scandals in medical history took place in Tuskegee, Alabama. Beginning in 1932, the U.S. Public Health Service recruited more than 400 African-American men with syphilis. But here's the horrifying part. They weren't told they had the disease. They weren't given proper treatment. Doctors simply watched as the disease progressed. Even after penicillin became the standard cure in the 1940s, the patients were denied it. For 40 years, these men suffered, their families were affected, and countless lives were destroyed, all in the name of research. The Tuskegee experiment wasn't just unethical, it was a betrayal. It fueled mistrust in medicine that persists to this day, and it remains a powerful reminder. Science without ethics is not progress, it's exploitation dressed up as research. Experiment 5. Cold War Radiation. Experiments. After World War II, as the US and Soviet Union raced to build nuclear arsenals, scientists became desperate to understand the effects of radiation on the human body. Their solution? Secret radiation experiments on people. In the US, some patients, many of them never even informed, were injected with radioactive substances. In the Soviet Union, similar tests were carried out in secrecy. The results were devastating. Many subjects developed cancers and died prematurely. The truth was hidden for decades, buried in classified archives. When these secrets came to light, the horror was clear. People had literally been turned into test subjects glowing with radiation. They weren't volunteers, they were victims. And their suffering proved that in the absence of moral boundaries, science can turn deadly fast. Experiment 6. Human cold endurance. Studies. Think your winters are unbearable without heating? In World War II concentration camps, the Nazis conducted freezing experiments that make today's discomforts look trivial. Prisoners were placed in ice water to see how long they could survive, or left outside in sub-zero conditions while their body temperatures were monitored. Many died within minutes. The data was meticulously recorded, but it came at the cost of countless lives. Similar experiments were also carried out in Soviet and Japanese wartime labs. The goal was to measure human endurance, but the result was atrocities disguised as science. Today, these experiments stand as stark evidence of crimes against humanity. They remind us that curiosity without conscience can become cruelty. The so-called cold tolerance experiments were less about discovery and more about testing the limits of human suffering. Looking back at these outrageous experiments, we see the double-edged nature of science. On one side, it reveals truths about human nature, the corruption of power, the dangers of obedience, the fragility of the mind, the resilience of the body. On the other side, it shows us the horrors of what happens when ethics are abandoned. The Stanford Prison Experiment revealed the darkness of authority. Milgram's Obedience Study showed us the perils of blind compliance. MK-Ultra and Cold War radiation experiments exposed the terrors of unchecked power. Tuskegee and Nazi freezing studies remain eternal warnings of how far humans can fall in the name of knowledge. Science is powerful, but it is not innocent. It must be guided by ethics, by humanity, by responsibility. Otherwise, bizarre becomes tragic. If you enjoy chilling and thought-provoking stories from the darker side of science, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because the line between curiosity and cruelty is thinner than we'd like to admit. And the best way to honor the victims of these experiments is to make sure history never repeats itself.